Welcome to the Power Friendship Podcast, episode 117.
Something, whatever. Wait.
We in there. We are black. We are back. We're queer and we're here. Let's get it. Episode 117. Something. Or what? That is 122, 123. It's gotta be. But I'm your host, Sailor Games, with my co-host, Benny J. Motherfifin Blanco. And we're here to give you your daily dose of friendship. We missed you guys. We love you. How are you, Benny?
Doing really good, man. How about yourself, brother, man?
I'm doing great. I'm having a gay old time. What you been up to? What you been up to? First of all,
literally just been watching like some shows and movies and stuff. I mean, we've got like a good dose of good television from Monarch, Legacy of Monsters to For All Mankind.
Good.
And some good other shows that are around. What about yourself?
I am doing great. I'm having a gay old time. I'm having fun. I'm here with my brethren. I'm watching a ton of Monarch TV, movie, comics. We're getting some good stuff here. We got a good show for the news. We got good things going around. Casting, movies. Movies are back. We are here. Yeah. First, hit the like button, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'm Sailor Games 18. This is my boy, Benny J. Blanco. Drink your water. Tell your mom and dad I love them. And whoever your guardian is, I love them too. Okay? Let's get started. First off, let's talk about the Scream situation. All right. How do you feel about that?
Bro, that's like, okay, first off, it was like, all right, well, you fired your lead cast, and I'm like, how are you going to do the next movie? And then Jenna Ortega's like, well, I'm doing a movie called, like, wait, was it Wednesday, or was it...
Wednesday's doing something else. But she's like...
But, like, yeah, it's, like, conflicting schedule, and I'm like, all right, man. It's like, all right,
man.
But like now you're out of two main characters that literally drove that franchise.
So what's your move? What do you do, Benny?
Get them back. I mean, like, there's literally no way you can do another one. I mean, you can, but like it won't do good. How about I
propose something here?
What?
How about we reboot?
No. Why would you reboot? No.
Reboot. No reboot. All right, I got
nothing. I mean, I get it.
Nev Campbell back.
Like, I get it. Okay, like, okay. So
cut the budget. 2 of them.
So, okay, I get it. I get, like, that's a possibility that you can do. But the issue is this cast that we have, and you can agree upon it, is probably the best we have. Like, I get the classic is really good, but, like, bro, the twins are fucking amazing, but the twins only work with everyone there as a core.
The core 4.
And like it's just, it sucks, and the reason why, it's like, yet again, it's a weird weird sense of, like, you can't, like, we preach about freedom of speech, but yet you get punished for speaking your mind about something that's very tragic around the world. It doesn't mean that said person is against another group. This is a fucking tragedy, and it sucks because she's a woman of color, and of course she's going to be the one getting kicked out. But yet, if it was somebody else, it might not have happened. So it sucks because it's one of our favorite movie franchise, and one of the best consistently great horror franchise or slasher franchise out there. And I think they need to get her back, because I swear, bro, like, if they don't get them both back, yeah, that movie's gonna tank.
Really?
It's gonna tank. It's gonna tank, bro.
It has been the most. Scream 6 and 7 have
but
really good money wise too. They've done good.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a low budget slasher film. I mean, like,
hey, amen. Good soup. Okay, Nosferatu is coming out. It's done filming. Good stuff's happening.
I can't wait, man. That shit's gonna look so good. Wait. Is it the same guy that did Lighthouse and all that?
Yeah. It's about to be amazing.
Oh my god, bro. Yeah, definitely gonna be there.
Horror's back, baby.
I mean, like, horror's never, like... been...
We have something each time. Like, Thanksgiving was crazy. Did you see Thanksgiving?
Nah, but I hear it was decent.
There's a scene where, like, there's, like, a Black Friday murder scene. Terrifying. Happening. People getting crushed. Heads getting scalded. Eli Roth is a miss.
I think it's the like the resurgence or like the big coming of a Blumhouse, how big that blew up, and then A24. Even though those companies have been around for a while, they've blown up around the same time as I could think of like what like It Follows like 2014 ish. Like, and it's just slowly been going up with all these like great projects that don't have restrictions from major studios, where like it's literally an indie film with some type of good money behind it. And I think that's just been really good. And it's weird blend of different genres too, where you can have horror with like real like action adventure aspects to it, where like now they've been blending a lot of different like genres together to tell a cohesive story. It doesn't have to be just one thing and one thing only.
Mm. I want to do a podcast. We got to do a podcast with Ashley V. Robinson on horror.
About what?
About horror movies. We've got to do.
Okay.
Ashley V. Robinson, horror movies. We got to talk. I'm putting the best signal out there.
Oh, but I guess what we could also talk about with horror movies is there was a big contract that got signed with A24 and Max. Well, I guess Warner Brothers Discovery. So, correct me if I'm wrong. The deal is all the backlog catalogs of all A24 films are going to go on Max. And wait, is it the theatrical one coming as like if it comes out in the movies? Is it also going to be in Max, or do you have to wait?
That's
So
a big question, because Iron Claw might be coming to Max too, same day as the movies. But I don't like that a lot. Maybe a week or after.
like see like that's COVID shit. Like that made sense during COVID.
But Friday Nights at Freddy did that on the cock. The cock, like had like that, and then.
But like I still think it's still good though, because like.
But
it gets people like subscribing now to more shit. Also, it's like the comfortability, and like we don't know the revenue where it comes to like when someone watches it, like how much money does that individually generate for Warner Brothers and A24? Like, is it the same amount of money as, let's say, a movie ticket, like $10? Like, does that equivalent to that? Like, that's something I really wish we had more like data for it. And I know a lot of these companies like to keep it hush hush unless they make a monumental like breakthrough where they'd be like, well, 100 million people watch it. It's like, well, I wish you would tell this a lot.
I just HBO has done like shitty things. I mean, not HBO. Warner Bros. Have done like crappy deals, like get rid of movies, canceling movies. But this is a good.
What's up with them and Netflix? Like, what's up with a lot of these movies going on Netflix? What's the deal with that?
Well, I think David Lassoff is giving out the DC catalog and all the catalogs now, just like everybody has.
Really?
Yeah, because everybody. I was like, you watch Man of Steel on Netflix.
I mean, like, that's not a bad thing. Like, I'm not going to say that's like a horrible thing. It's just it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because like you have like Adventure Time on Hulu, and then you have Adventure Time on Max. Like there is diversity, and I think that's a good thing. So like you're not really like shutting off your fan base.
No? Yeah,
I don't know. It's weird.
Like, all right,
I like cooperation when it comes to like different streaming services like that. I don't know. To me, at least.
But David Lassoff trying to clean up, I guess. He's doing tax write-offs for movies, but I just don't.
I guess so, yeah.
A24 is amazing get though. Like I like Talk to Me, everything.
I think that's great because there was at a point where there's a lot of A24 films I want to watch, but like I had to rent them, and now that they're coming to Max, I think that's fucking amazing, and that literally will make one of the best date nights that you could have because. You gotta have a date over, or you go over and be like, "Yo, let's watch a crazy movie." And A24 has the perfect catalog of wow fucking movies, bro.
Yes, sir. Yeah, yes, sir. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm down. HBO Max, you become my favorite streaming service again. I love you, but we got more stuff. We gotta get on there. Yeah. But I still take the Justice League off and stuff like that. Other stuff like that. It's weird. Sweet to me. Also, I guess we talk about Netflix wanting to do like the Snyder Cut 2. They've been
wait. All right, wait. They want to fund a sequel to the Justice League.
They talked about funding a sequel to the Justice League, and
he has a deal with Netflix.
That's after Rebel Moon, I guess, because of that and more things. That's not mentioned for me. This is kind of a rumor, but it's pretty much like the dude, the executive director, was like, "We're thinking about maybe But
Fuck
everyone,
it. Fuck it.
everyone
Fuck it.
that's
Why
why
not,
I
right?
said things that have happened. Like y'all had a whole movie and said it didn't exist. Like I'm down if you're gonna do it. Just do it. But Rebel movies coming.
I'm just happy. I'm happy for Zack Snyder that he has such a resurgence and like
Yeah,
such a tragedy that happened
yeah.
now. Like that happened.
Ray Fisher's working. All everything is just good, man. I'm just I need it,
That's good
man.
for him, man. That's awesome.
Like,
That's
yeah,
good for the fans too.
just give the fans what they want. Y'all gave it to them before. Just give them what they want, man. Just
And
please
it was
don't.
successful. It was successful.
I just
Snyder
don't.
cut.
Yeah. I can't deny that it was successful. It's
Well,
just
first let me cut you off real quick, bro. Let me acknowledge your fucking jacket. It's so fucking cool. So cool.
Box Lunch. Please sponsor us. We love you.
That shit is fire, bro.
Look at that. Oh, you smell butt.
This shit is fire, bro. I love it.
Yeah, but Box Lunch, sponsor us, please. We'll wear your clothes. We'll wear anything you buy. Send us. Please, for us, buy us. It sounds like slavery, but it's fine. We're okay. It's okay. But yeah, I got to acknowledge your beautiful face because you're a beautiful man.
Oh, thanks, bro.
Beautiful man. You remind me of Heavy Mercury.
Oh, really?
Yep. Yeah, not the straight one. The straight one.
Oh, straight one. Thank you.
And you're beautiful.
Oh, thanks, man.
Great Freddie Mercury ever, brother.
Maybe, but his whole family disowned him.
Really?
Yeah, when he came out as gay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, remember he's like from like India, like around that area.
Ah.
Yeah.
That's why they picked Rami Malek. Oh.
Yeah. Because he's like, I guess to say.
Did you like him as Freddie Mercury?
I think he was really good. The way they portrayed him though, I didn't like it because they kind of made him like kind of a villain-esque. Because the movie was produced by the living members and like they have like good things to say about him, but they also like very jealous because Queen was a band before they got him, but he made them, better. He was the face of Queen.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Nothing wrong with that. Back to your brand new news. All right. We talked Superman casting?
No, we haven't talked about it, and I know there's been a lot of development.
All right. Do you like any of the casting? Anyone you don't like?
I love it. Like, no, I love them all. I think Nicholas Hoult as fucking Lex Luthor is perfect because, like, seeing him and fucking the menu, I was just like, bro, he's just perfect for like a snotty like billionaire. Like, and I don't know. I think that's just a perfect casting. Every single one is really good. Like the only thing it's a little bit weird is like they announced like Green Lantern. Who else? Hawk Girl. Like I'm wondering like where in their capacity are they going to be in the film? That's kind of weird.
Supergirl's going to be in the film too.
Wait, what's Supergirl?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So Sasha Kaye is supposed to be out. And it's supposed to be
I mean, I figure since it was the old reign.
He was good though. But they said new Supergirl's going to be in there, so that's fine. But my boys like, and people say all the time, I want a Superman movie. I'm like, bro, it's a breathing world. James Gunn is doing.
Oh yeah, with all these different heroes. I mean, it's a living world. Yeah,
it's a living world. Superheroes, like he's not gonna they're not all gonna be like the main center of the story. Like it's like a comic. Sometimes they power. Sometimes because like in Marvel movies, I think it's weird how like the Avengers are not. It's weird. It's just like a disconnect. That's all.
Every single movie that we see in Marvel is like a world-ending event, and nobody's there.
Like, where's everybody?
What about that giant ass fucking Celestial?
They talk about that in newspaper articles.
Once.
They talk about it, but it's like,
it's a whole fucking continent on the Pacific Ocean, bro. That's a big deal.
I'm like, but yeah. By the time people like, it's a Superman story, but it has moving parts. Like,
it's a Superman story, but at its core, it's a DC story.
Do you have a favorite casting so far?
I think the actors that they got both for Superman and Lois Lane are absolutely perfect, and I think that's so fucking beautiful because it's literally going to be the whole like looking up, kissing. I don't know. I think that's fucking really cool to have like that over Titan size.
Her name is from Miss Maisel. I like
Yeah.
her a lot.
Oh no, no. I mean, that's a great show on its own in the Amazon
Yeah,
Prime.
I love her like presence, her all that. I like, you know what? She's dope. She's dope. I'm down, and she's funny. I dig it. Rachel Brosnan, yeah, she's really cool. I like her. But also Jimmy Olsen casting was a good spot on too, man. I love it.
Oh yeah.
What's the button? Sorry, but I love the Jimmy Olsen casting. That's like my favorite one. Favorite one so far.
I didn't get that.
No.
Could you try again?
No, not that.
Whoa.
No, my bad. I love the Jimmy Olsen
Yeah.
casting. That's my favorite. And also wait, they also casted Maxwell Lord as Sean Gunn.
Yeah, which I'm just like, I guess he always got to put his brother somehow.
Yeah, Skylar Gunzondo plays Jimmy Olsen, which is
I guess Pedro Pascal is too busy.
Good casting, but also Supergirl's going to be in the movie. Sean Gunn is Maxwell Lord, so Wonder Woman stuff might be happening. They're cooking. Let James Gunn cook, okay? Let James Gunn cook, okay?
The movie better be 2 hours and 40 movie. 40 hours. 2 hours and 40 minutes.
I can't hear you.
Said the movie should be 2 hours and 40 minutes.
I can hear Benny, baby. I can't hear you.
Hold up.
Hey, what am I doing? Hold on. Let me see something. Can you hear Benny? Benny! I can't hear you, baby. I'm not editing it. I'm not editing this out. I can't hear you. You can hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Weird.
Hello?
What?
Is it you I'm looking for? You can't hear me? Brother, no? Hey?
Why did you do that? He did it.
Oh my god.
Hold on. That's so weird. Nani? Let me try something.
Oh.
Talk now.
Hello?
Oh, I can hear you now. Good. I can hear you now.
Okay.
Perfect. That was weird. Sorry about that delay there. But yeah, I couldn't hear you. That was so weird. All right. Yeah.
The movie should be 2 hours and 40 minutes.
2 hours and 40 minutes? That's what you want? I want a long movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be 3 hours, but I think it should be close to it.
I need it.
I mean, that's a lot of people that you just said.
Yeah. I don't know what it's going to do. I'm excited. I want to see... What's the last time you watched a superhero movie?
Last time I saw a superhero movie was whatever was before Captain Marvel, so I don't know. I didn't watch that.
You saw the Marvel?
I didn't feel like watching. No. Whatever was before that.
Wait, you didn't watch the Marvels yet?
No.
Why not? Are you going to watch that Disney Plus?
I didn't need to. I'll probably just watch a Screen Rant video. Nah. Bro, I literally don't need to watch it. I already know what happens.
That's true. I kind of like, Okay, we'll talk about enough of Superman. Anything else you want to say about Superman? I don't think I have anything else. I want to talk about the Game Awards.
Give me that trailer
real quick.
Oh. You mean the trailer awards?
Oh, there's no gameplay.
No, bro. Apparently, like they say, 15% of the actual Game Awards was awards. They say 85% was literally trailers.
That's what they usually do. They show gameplay.
But like it was substantially, but it was substantially way less than it was. Like it's literally a Game Awards where like a lot of these people spend their like life making these games, and the majority of the awards are literally handed out either like off screen where like she'll be like, and the best handheld game is blah blah blah, and they don't even go on stage and like give a speech. So like. Yeah, majority of it was like, even if they gave a speech, it was like really short that they had to keep it to. So like, it's literally becoming what a lot of people hated prior when it was on Spike TV.
I liked it. It was great. It was fun.
I think it's cool. I think it's cool.
Hey, let's go. Hey, what's up?
Sorry I'm late.
Here. Woo. I was like, okay, you're here. Miller's here, guys. What up, man? Hola, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm sorry. Yeah, I
Oh,
was
you're
having
good,
trouble
man.
with my camera. I haven't done this in a while, honestly.
What?
Is my volume okay?
You're good. You're good. I'm
Oh,
glad you're here.
perfect.
Well, Mill's here. We're
I'm
here to ask you all the things without getting
great.
NDA'd and sued. Is that possible?
I mean, we
It's
can always
it's
try.
it's
All right.
touchy, I think. It's
You
touchy.
Avengers is my favorite game, low key. My favorite
Yeah?
game. I played it. I put in at least ungodly amount of hours in that game. I followed your Twitter. I think it's dope.
Thank you.
Okay, I got so many questions. Okay,
Sure.
so many questions. Okay. So how did you? All right. What was the? All right. What leak was the one that like made your Twitter like popping? What was it? What was it? What was the one?
Oh my God. This sounds really conceited. Like I'm like, oh, which one could it even be? No, I don't. I think like I remember there was one time like Cyberpunk was on fire and they were doing these like apology graphics.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I made a Cyberpunk apology graphic with like a bunch of Black Panther tea on it. And because like one of the directors on Cyberpunk was liking a bunch of tweets that were like, how are people coming after Cyberpunk when Avengers was twice as bad and all this stuff. And so I just thought it'd be funny to like poke fun at that. And then that like really traveled. It was surprising to me how far the reach of that was. Yeah, I think if there was one that sort of like leveled me up, it would be that one. But then also I think probably the Kritzia Bajos as She-Hulk story also went really far and kept
Yeah,
coming back up constantly. So yeah,
that one hurts my
those
heart.
two.
That hurts my heart the most.
I know.
As a fan, I have She-Hulk #1. She's my favorite character, one of my favorites. But I was like, I was like, I'm ready. Then like, I saw that message. You're gonna shut down, guys. I said no. And then I saw it was a character. All right, who are the next characters going to be? Do you know? Do you still know?
Like for Avengers?
Yeah.
Well, the game is over.
Yeah.
So there are none, unfortunately. No, I mean there were different ideas at different points. Like up and until War for Wakanda, the plan was Black Panther, She-Hulk, Winter Soldier, Captain Marvel. And then shortly after, well, I guess Spider-Man 2 in there, but you know, that's on top of everything else. Shortly after War for Wakanda came out, I think is when the parties became disinterested and we're looking for an exit strategy. And one of them was Jane Foster and then just dump it. And Jane Foster would leverage a lot of the stuff that was made for Captain Marvel at that point, their idea. And then plans change as they did 100 times on that game, which made it really awkward to report on, you know, like from like an insider's perspective, especially during that period. After Jane Foster, when those plans changed, there was like this roadmap concept. Like they were still talking about roadmaps at that point. That this was before they were like, no more roadmaps. And they had a year's plan with a different development pipeline in mind. That would be like half clone, half not clone. And that ended up leaking online because I think I assume it was Brian Wagner specifically, but it was because like I know he does that in DMs with people, like he sort of like shows them things he shouldn't, and which is very ironic because I always got heat for that. But he so I think what happened was one of the people that he showed it to ended up spilling it and shared it. And some people don't know whether to take it seriously or not, but it is real. It's the one with Vision on it and a couple things. So that was what that plan looked like then. And then obviously plans changed to include Winter Soldier because from what I understand, when at that point, towards the end of Jane Foster's development, it was perceived as like, okay, we need to sort of oil this machine up. we need to get this new development pipeline up to snuff to like start churning these out. So they were like tests, like they had to, it was like a challenge for them. And so I don't think they passed. I think it was clear that things weren't going as smoothly as they would like them to, and money was still a huge issue. So they ended up pivoting back to work that had already been done on Winter Soldier just to help that get off the ground. It was a damn mess, honestly. I don't know how much is even out there anymore. I've lost track of it. I'm working on like a post-mortem right now that I really will shine a lot of light on this, but really at no point in development was everything going well. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What's your what would you change about Avengers? What would you do? What would you change about Avengers?
It's ironic because I think for years I was the voice behind like, don't blame Crystal Dynamics for this. Like, there's Marvel games and there's Square Enix and there's a million other factors that you can't really judge their performance here. The more I learn about it, the more I see maybe they spilled actually with that. Like maybe Crystal Dynamics wasn't the studio for it. But also too, Avengers wouldn't be what it was. You know, like we would have gotten a very different game if a different studio had gone on it. So I can't I think if I could change one thing, it would be not to pivot to Jane Foster, to just ride that cart until the wheels fell off, as they ultimately did, because I don't think any of their pivots were as far enough as they needed to go or had as much money behind them as there needed to be. So none of these changes to the plan really amounted to anything. They were all just distractions, ultimately, that never went anywhere, where they just sat there for a year doing nothing, and then the game died, you know? Like, I wish they'd kept on their very much doomed path as a little bit longer.
Anytime. Oh, okay. All right. I have so. Well, your Twitter is very interesting. I love it.
Oh.
I love it. I learned so much about the game through Twitter. Is there any character that you wanted in the game? Perfect in the Avengers?
Quake. 100% Quake. Like, leading up to, like, in the early stages of Marvel's Avengers development, it's very clear to me that a lot of the key creatives were big Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans, and were making really concerted efforts to put Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. references in. And I'm a diehard Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan, so I was always digging up something that broke my heart a little bit. Like there was, oh gosh, I forget her first. Is it Amy? The scientist character in the Anthill Outpost. Yeah, the surname is Cho. She was originally Gemma from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in prototyping.
Okay.
Coulson was originally on the board as an NPC at that point too. There were, I think when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was getting canceled, like Marvel Games is very specific about, okay, this has a future, promote this doesn't, don't promote that. You know, like there are certain things that are accessible and there are certain things that are not. As much as they like to pretend otherwise and say that, oh, we gave them the keys to the castle and there's 80 years of history, they can do whatever they want, they can't. I mean, within reason. Like, there is just no way that a game like Marvel's Avengers will ever happen again. Not from like a multiplayer Marvel perspective. Like that can happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, from a specifically Miller perspective of like the stars aligning with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and it's a very Inhuman centric story. And now with the Fox acquisition with Disney, there's no longer a push from Marvel for Inhumans at all. So like the odds of Inhumans ever really being a thing again to that extent are gone. Like it was the last breath of like a certain era of Marvel, truly. And I will always love it for that. But yeah, if if there was one thing that I wish was in the game, it was Quake. But I'll tell you, a very kind developer, and I won't be sharing this, so this isn't really a spoiler for my article, but showed me the Quake model that they had made, and it's very comics Quake versus TV Quake. But I don't mean like Angelina Jolie tracing photos Quake, which is how Quake started in the comics, was just traced photos of Angelina Jolie. But it's like she's got the short hair, the gauntlets sort of like resemble like a drill.
Okay.
It was just such a cool design. Like, I love it. And I wish I knew who worked on that I could rave at them, because I'm obsessed with it. But yeah, there's going to be some visual things that I show off when I push my postmortem out, but that won't be one of them, because only one source gave it to me, and I don't like, potentially screwing anybody over like that. But I can describe it. It's very cool.
I love it. I love it so much. Oh my god! I love it. Okay, so Avengers. What was the last thing you did in Avengers?
The last thing. Well, I'm still doing it. Oh, you mean like in game?
Oh, you're still playing it? Oh,
yeah. Okay, in game. The last thing I did back in 2001, like right before War for Wakanda came out, I was doing this like marathon stream, and it was the morning of War for Wakanda's release, and I just got this like bad feeling. Like, I'm not superstitious or anything, but I got this bad feeling. I'm like, I'm so emotionally attached to the game, and I'm like, God, this is the beginning of the end, isn't it? Because I'd been saying for so long, like, this is a real make or break moment for the game. Like, this is sink or swim. Like, if this pulls in enough of a crowd, it sort of proves the viability of the game long term. Like, oh, it's worth investing in it, because when you put this much work into the post-launch DLC, this is what return you get back from that. I saw attention for it, certainly, and I was back and forth for the next couple months on whether or not it really did suffice. But I just got this eerie feeling that morning. I'm like, God, this is it. Like, this is as big as it will ever be again. And I couldn't bring myself to play it. Like, I couldn't do it. I'm like, it feels like the last big celebration of this game, and I don't want to use that right now because I'm not ready. And so I didn't play War for Wakanda for like a year and a half or a year. Like a year and a half. Didn't play it. And finally last year I played it, and it was the beginning of this year. Yeah, like March or something of this year. Finally I played War for Wakanda, and it was amazing, and it was everything I hoped it would be. But this was around the time that I knew it was wrapping up, and it was like, yeah, this is how I want to celebrate Avengers. You know what I mean? Like, because the last update was just a disaster, like, so thrown together. I don't mean the traversal stuff that they worked on at the very, very end, but the last content update with like Winter Soldier and stuff was such a wet fart that I'm just so glad that wasn't the last taste in my mouth for Avengers. You know what I mean? That isn't how I remember it. I spent most of that period like in La La Land, just pretending things were better than they were. But yeah, that was the last thing I did in Avengers, and it was a good memory to leave it off on.
How was it going? Did you play Midnight Suns? What did you think of Midnight Suns?
Okay. When Midnight Suns came out, I was just in the middle of like dropping out of university, and things were really weird for me personally. I'm like not in the right headspace. But a friend bought me the game, and I sat on it, and I did finally start it recently, and it's so good. I'm like in the middle of playing it right now. It's amazing. Oh, and I love the character choice, and getting Lyric Okano to play Nico is such a strong choice, and I love that about Marvel games. The one thing I love about Marvel games is they like really can stick to a person and be like, you are this. It's
Yes,
nice, that consistency.
Shout out to The Runaways. It should be on Disney Plus or Hulu. Please, God, watch
No, it got removed from all platforms.
Now I'm about to cry.
They HBO'd it. They HBO'd it. It's gone. Like they don't want to pay anybody who worked on that anymore. It's gone. I was joking around that it's a 1, 2, 3 movies exclusive now.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Yeah, they Batgirled it.
And they had Cloak and Dagger in it too. Oh,
I mean, okay, here's my take on Runaways. Season 1, I think, is brilliant because I think it leans, like, I think the writing was stronger, and I think it leaned really heavily on the casting, which was brilliant across the board.
The cast has got the cast is good.
Honestly, like, whoever the casting director was on season 1 of Runaways, like, they did not get their flowers. They killed it. But season 2 and season 3 are, like, to me, almost unwatchable. Like,
damn.
And I love, like, some trash. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love bad media. But, like, the whole plot line with, oh God, I'm blanking on names. It's been so long since I've watched it. But, Gert's, like, younger sister, like, the adopted sister, her, like, love interest, that whole plot line with that guy.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was on, like, some, like, Iron Fist level bad. Like, oh my God, that was bad. Just some of the worst acting I've seen on television. Terrible. Irredeemably poor. And I thought, like, I like their casting for Morgan Le Fay, but I thought the whole plot line was, like, we couldn't afford to do this, actually. And that was one of the things that I loved about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was, like, they would pick up plot lines that you're like, you have no business doing that. You can't afford to do that.
Yeah, I was
and they
like,
would crush it.
I was like, oh, all right, probably let's do it. Do it. Just Runaways is one of my favorite. Oh, it was such a gem, man. I loved it. I
thought,
man.
Like, when Cloak and Dagger came out, Cloak and Dagger was so sensational, like, and was written so strongly. Like, I really do think it's one of the strongest pieces of Marvel television.
Oh yeah, it's up for sure.
But the funny thing is, when they crossed over with Runaways, they did it on Runaways, and so, like, it's like the Runaways writers and directors doing it, and it was terrible. And it was so funny because you see, like, it's such a stark contrast, even just in the characterization of Cloak and Dagger between the two shows. It's like, oh, you guys have no idea what you're doing here anymore. Like, get out. But I stress, like, season 1 of Runaways is really, really good. Like, it should be watched. I love that. But they just immediately jumped the shark, had no clue what was going on. Like, they immediately, like, redeem all of the villains. Spoiler alert, like, it makes no sense. There's, like, this weird pregnancy storyline. Like, it's a bad soap, and not in, like, a good, trashy, pulpy, watchable way. Like, it's just, it's a mess. But I love Cloak and Dagger too.
Yeah,
anyways, I could go on. I love Marvel television.
Listen, I love Cloak and Dagger. That was my jam. I was like, what? I watched it. Runaways is good. But yeah, okay. Talk about Avengers. Well, Avengers is like one of the things I love that how you tweet, talk about. Like, I love everything about you when it comes to Avengers. I think there's another game coming out right now.
Yes.
I played the alpha.
Oh, oof. Careful what you say.
Yes.
Yeah. We played the alpha. We played it.
I played it.
And he played it. And that's all we can say.
I played it a lot. I am obsessed with that game.
Completely the opposite. But okay.
Oh, yeah?
Vandy's not.
Well, that's good. Good counterpoint. Kind of good balance here.
I want him to play. Well, if he play a little bit more than I play, but it's fine. But I played.
I'll tell you, like, because I know there's only so much you can say. I'll tell you, like, a lot of the criticisms that I heard from the alpha are addressed in the full game. Like a lot of it does open up. Like, you get more options across the board in combat and traversal. Like, I teased this on Twitter. There's a whole unannounced feature that I think really opens up the gameplay and is so fun. Like, what I've always found about Avengers that was most draining to cover long term was that, like, the post game wasn't fun. Like, it was a slog. There would, like, go play Fortnite. You know what I mean? Like, Fortnite, like you're doing the same shit, but it's fun. Like that's the point. It like you're having a good time. Avengers was never like you were never having a good time in post game. Like maybe
Yeah,
you get like that piece that you're like, oh,
yeah.
you know, and like look what this does.
It was
But
only
the
fun
moment
with
to
like,
moment gameplay, like it
yeah.
wasn't literally designed with fun as the
Mhm,
focus, and that's so stupid. But like
mhm.
the one thing I'll tell you about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, oh, the opposite. Like post game is designed around fun. It I've seen videos of stuff that I'm like, God, that looks so fun. And it's giving Fortnite, like in the best way. Like it just looks like
Mm.
very replayable, very open, great multiplayer experience. I'm really excited to see more of it and to freaking play it. Like I'm
I
so
I
in.
I was very shocked when I played it, and Harley Quinn is my favorite right now. But
Careful.
I need I need uh a speedster, Reverse Flash, and Black Manta, and Cheetah. That's what I need. But I know I've seen things. I see how the
Yeah.
game characters are in the game, and the alpha was great. That's all I'm saying. It was great. It was fun. I'm glad they did this. Thank you for doing this. And I'm in Discord right now, and like a lot of the feedback I'm hearing is like I'm proud of them for doing that. It's cool because like
Yeah, people can't
yeah,
help themselves but talk about it. And I
yeah,
think that says a lot.
yeah,
Like
and it's like I want to, and I'm hearing like it's crazy. Oh, because I played it afterwards. I can't say what I want to say. I want to say so many things, but I was shocked at like, okay, they must have watched Avengers or learned from Avengers, or they had to like. What would you say they would need to do to make Suicide Squad to learn from Avengers? What would you say? What would you say?
well, I just nailed, I think, the biggest one is
Mm.
how different post game is relative to fun and how much of a core design principle that is. Um, I think the gear is more interesting just right off the bat.
Okay.
Like, I think when I look at how Avengers launched with respect to gear specifically, there was really nothing interesting, like the least bit interesting for like 2 years. And I wish I was kidding. Suicide
Fair
Squad Kill
enough.
the Justice League is like launching with interesting gear stuff. Like I think they have a much stronger sense of how to incentivize
Mhm.
playing toward that than
Yeah,
Avengers did.
oh, I'm pre-ordering the game. I'm not playing around. I had a blast in a ball, and I don't know. I was surprised, and I said, okay, yeah, but King Shark. You know King Shark's in the game, and Harley Quinn's in the game, but I thought I was gonna like King Shark more, but I like Harley Quinn a lot in that game, and I like I love the whole thing. The whole thing
I
with the
think
team.
like one of the things I saw a lot from people was that they went in with an expectation of like, I will gel with this character. This kind of gameplay, I think, is what speaks
Yes.
to me.
Mm-hmm.
And they were really surprised to find a different character click with them more.
Mm-hmm.
Or even that the character that they had earmarked to play didn't click with them at all. You know, like which I think is really, I think it speaks to the diversity of gameplay, that people
Yeah.
aren't shoehorning themselves into that character of choice because they like that character better, that they're like, actually, I prefer this type of gameplay. You know, I think that does speak directly to how big of a gap there is between those two, which when it's really deceptively simple, you know?
Yeah. I want to talk about the game so bad. But you
It
okay?
won't be long.
Yeah, I know. February is almost here. But you've seen things, you've heard things. I like
Yeah.
how you. I love that. So, are you excited for that? How excited for your game from 1 to 10? 1 to 10.
Okay. I keep getting more excited. There are like I I'm in a bit of a race right now. Like here's what's going on behind the scenes. This is like one of the things about data mining Avengers was there was I think probably the primary factor was lack of interest because the game was smaller scale in the grand scheme of things. You know, this ain't Fortnite, to bring that up again. But it was also proprietary tech. so there was a lot less documentation in how to data mine it. You really had to sort of learn from experience pulling stuff out of it, and having done that for years, nobody could catch up to me. Like I had come up with, like I have honestly like terabytes of builds lying around, like just like meticulously cataloged. I really made a job out of it for years. So now Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, like it's an Unreal Engine 4 game. There is really no engine as well documented from a data mining perspective as Unreal Engine 4. Like there is some there are some proprietary solutions that they've come up with to sort of deter data mining, and I think it'll be a cat and mouse game the whole time. But there is a lot of competition on the data mining front, and so I've thrown myself into it, and I'm sort of looking across at everyone else's progress, and I'm seeing like a really consistent, like them being 3-4 steps behind me, which is so comforting because I don't feel anybody breathing at my back. Like the identity of the third character that's post-launch, for example, nobody has that yet still but me, thank God. And I'm on like 2, 3, 4 things past that. I'm still pulling up, like I'm still digging, like looking under stones. I'm even I'm not trying to like make an issue of it. We were like scheduled to start at 11, right? And I looked at my email at 11 and I didn't have a link yet. So I dove right back into data mining because I'm on like a very specific lead right now about something that is so exciting. And it's good. It's like I'm back in it. And I'm hoping as I keep talking that eventually I rediscover the question that was asked. It's not working. So I'm gonna ask you to re-ask it. But I hope that maybe answered in a roundabout way.
We got you. We gotta have him back on when the game drops. We gotta have you back on when the game drops. Sure. And we gotta play.
That's the best part about crossplay is like I was on an island with Avengers. I was playing on PC. There's like 2 creators that play Avengers on PC, and one of them hates me. So it was like,
why? What the hell you do?
Well, I think it's like a proximity thing. They're like, oh God, I don't want to make it a thing, but they were in group chats with certain people that really didn't like me. And so they just sort of didn't by proximity. And, you know, Avengers was like a very incestuous community. Like everyone's hands were in everybody else's pockets. It was very small. Everybody knew everybody, and everybody, more importantly, had an opinion on everybody. So there was always something kicking off, and this one didn't like that one. And frankly, it's still going. Like I just had somebody message me the other day about like, oh, did you hear this thing about like this thing? It's like, oh my God, we're still doing this? Like,
man, we're supposed to be together. Avengers is one, man.
I'm in this like the honeymoon phase again, where I'm like falling back in love with this game, and I'm like still like unraveling this mystery, and it really takes me back to like when I was like uncovering Kate Bishop and Cloning Lab, like literally back in like beta, like August of 2020. That's where I'm at in my head right now, and it feels so good, and I wish everybody was here with me. But the thing about it specifically is, as I've alluded to, there are some narrative twists that I don't want to spoil that are like later in the narrative.
Wonder Woman. She's my favorite character. Also, that game they announced for we gonna talk about that. But that's the thing I'm mad about. You gotta get that game announced every 2 years. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
What game?
But the Wonder Woman game that got announced 2 years ago. But it's not. I wait for the Game Awards to be like, yeah, but no. But we saw the Suicide Squad trailer. That was sick.
We're back in an era of like very early game announcements. Like, I remember, you think like back to like the PS3 era. I feel like we reached this fever pitch of like, okay, we're announcing shit way too early. Like You know, like I feel like there was a reckoning there where people sort of collectively decided, don't do that anymore. You know, like let's give it a year in between, maybe
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
tops.
think they do it just to get ahead of like leaks and shit like that, or
No, now it's my understanding that the major motivation for doing it is like to attract talent. So you announce something very early, like let's look
yeah,
at Tomb Raider. You
yeah,
announce a Tomb Raider game pretty early, and that gives you an opportunity to then hire people who have a big interest in Tomb Raider. You don't have to be cagey about what you're working on. You can, you
ah,
know what I mean? That kind of thing.
okay.
It's my understanding that that's really the primary motivation today.
So it's like a job
Um,
hiring almost, like, it makes sense. It's
yeah.
like, hey, we're making this. You were interested. See, like, I would assume, like, in those like promos of like the game, it's like, all right, it's already being worked on. Like, I don't think they need more of the team, but I guess
Oh
from
no.
what you're saying, it's like, no, they need more people, and I guess different
Yeah. Like
avenues.
the core creatives are locked, but they're still like when the Wonder Woman game was announced, you know, they have, I think, an overwhelming majority of the core creative people locked in.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, the team was probably like, I mean, I'm just pulling numbers out of my ass, but the team was probably less than 50% the size that it needed to be to reach full scale production.
Well, because it's Monolith Studio too that did the Shadow of War, right?
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But yeah.
But yeah, because you're right about that too. Because even a lot of like game developers are like contracted, so they'll just hop from one
Yeah.
project to another one. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I mean, the hiring practices in the industry are really abusive. Like,
Yeah, it's sad.
yeah, I mean, and I think it's not really isolated to the game industry, but it's, you know, the point of discussion. I feel like even Crystal Dynamics is going through it right now too, where so many of the employees that they're hiring are like outsourced, even though they're like employed by. It's very weird. It's giving like Uber driver, you know what I mean?
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
You know, where like you're an employee but you're not an employee. It's so stupid the loopholes people come up with to get out of paying you. But
Is
even
Crystal
then
Dynamics?
too.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
so
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I'm so sorry for interrupting. Is Crystal
No.
Dynamics an American company or is it owned by Square Enix?
Well, they were owned by Square Enix Europe, was like the subsidiary that owned Crystal Dynamics. And the entire Square Enix Europe subsidiary was sold off to Embracer. Like Square Enix, their corporate structure, I think, sort of eluded people. Yeah, there's like Square Enix proper, and then they have a couple little satellites, and one of them was probably their biggest, Square Enix Europe, which was part of a big venture to push into or buy their way into the North American industry and like the
Yeah.
Anglosphere. Um, and Japanese games have always had a big presence. Well, I think around the time that acquisition was made, Japanese media really cemented itself as a major driver in Europe. And so it sort of, I think, made sense to put, well, actually, that's not true. Okay, sorry. I'm getting off track. If I recall correctly, Square Enix acquired or merged with, they merged with a company
Mm-hmm.
that owned all of these studios that they ended up selling off to Embracer. And when they did that merger, I believe what they did was they rebranded that company as Square Enix Europe. And so Square Enix Europe, they own like Eidos and Crystal Dynamics and sort of oversaw them in like a Nintendo of America kind of way,
Yeah.
where like, yes, they have like their own studio that they do sort of have eyesight over, but for the most part, they answer to NCL, or in this case, Square Enix proper. So when Square Enix divested and like sold that stuff off to Embracer, they just sold off the whole Square Enix Europe dog and pony show. But they pulled a couple of IP out of it. So
Yeah.
I think they kept Outriders and Life is Strange. And what's funny actually is to this day, Life is Strange was, I think, the most profitable thing Square Enix Europe ever did.
Still good. Love Life is Strange so
Yeah,
much.
I mean, it really, It made a ton of money because it was very cheap to make, and
Yeah.
and it made stars out of a lot of people in that industry too, which I think is another thing that Square Enix really valued, having that talent under them. But yeah, pretty much Square Enix Europe was a huge flop, and everything was consistently a disaster, with the like sole exception of Square Enix Europe, with sole exception of Life is Strange, and yeah, and it's still sort of floundering. It's funny. There's a trend in the industry where by the way, I know I'm completely off track, but this is a good one.
Oh man, look, please talk.
No, you're good.
I'm
You're
glad to
good.
be in your presence, man. I want to talk to this guy ever since I saw your Twitter, bro. I love how you think, how you talk. I that's why I wanted to be on the podcast. I love the way you talk about things like gaming, data mining, and it's like
Oh, that
your
means a
tweets
lot
are
to
just like,
me.
and I just like I was like, this guy, it's something special. This is special. I like
Thank
this.
you.
And you
I
very-
think so too. No.
And I
Like-
always was curious on how a data miner looks, and he looks
Yeah,
pretty fucking
and-
rad.
yeah.
Rad as fuck.
And like Avengers is one of my games that I've like, it's a gym. Like I play with my friends. I was like, I love this.
It's fun.
And then like seeing it from your perspective and how you saw it, and then like the comments you would get and stuff like that. I was like, yo, it was just interesting how you just used something that everybody hated, but then like you like shed some light on it, have fun with it, stuff like that, and what they're working on.
I know what you mean.
I wish they would hire you. Like, I don't know, like, no, like, because this is crazy because, like, you made me believe in the game. I believed in the game.
Well,
And then
I'll tell
did-
you, like, again, this is something that I am not going to put in the article, but I did end up finding out. I think I mentioned this somewhere. I don't remember if it was on another podcast, but it did come to me that there was a director on Avengers circa like 2021 who came up with a plan to use me for like a marketing thing.
Yeah,
And
you.
the ball was rolling for a bit, and then apparently like he got talked down from it or something.
Yeah,
But-
but like, what you do is what they should do. It's weird. You should have been like the Avengers.
I mean,
like,
I think it's a necessary evil. Like, I hate to. I think there's. Oh God. I recognize the inherent immorality of saying like, well, if I don't do it, somebody's gonna do it. Like that's not an
Mhm.
excuse, because I
Right.
believe in what I do, and I'm not ashamed of it.
yeah,
But I think it's unique. It's uniquely worth pointing out that, like I said earlier about the race, other people are doing this, and I think strategically there is a value to doing it from like a white hat perspective,
yeah,
which I think is new, and it's a sort of emerging corner of this element of like leak culture, where like doing it with intention. I for example, I'm not sharing story spoilers. I was just saying there's a huge twist, and there are things that would illuminate, like there are things you wouldn't think would be connected to a story spoiler that I'm not talking about, specifically because they immediately raise questions about that story spoiler and kind of tacitly spoil it in their own way. And my stance on it is that I love art. Like, there's writers working on this game. I love their work, their art. They write. Hooray. I want people to experience that writing. But like the marketers, the people doing the PR, the people who cut the trailers, that's not art. I don't care about that. I like video games. I don't like commercials. Like that's not what draws me into this medium. And so if it's something that would be in a trailer, I'll happily talk about it because they've already made the choice that it's worth spoiling for the purposes of advertisement or whatever. You know what I mean?
you should be hired. That's all I'm saying. Somewhere,
It's not gonna happen.
Gonna do it, and it's gonna be too late. Someone's gonna do it's gonna be too late. I hope somebody like, or for a Invincible game or something like, not Marvel or DC, somebody like other way does it, and then like you You get like
I'm sorry.
Invincible or something else.
I'm not one to look at my phone during stuff like this. I have notifications off on Twitter, with the exception of like the biggest accounts. Like my Twitter is set up in such a way that like if you aren't famous, my phone is not going to interrupt me, like, you know what I mean, or like start going off because of something. But oh god, my dog. but yeah, I just had Kritzy Abahos like one of my tweets. What is this life? Like
you're famous. You're famous. All right,
no,
question.
I'm
All right, explain data mining for the people that don't know data mining. What is data mining?
There, it really is the idea that, or the process of looking under the hood, and sort of when you get when I say I develop a game, right? There are when you ultimately download that game or buy a disc, the contents of that are not just like one sort of linear presentation of a game, like a movie or something. You know, video games are inherently a collection of moving pieces, and all of those are sort of assembled in a non-linear fashion, and some are used, some are not used. You know, it's usually a snapshot. Like video game development can lead you in many different directions, and there are usually echoes of every misstep, every wrong turn, everything you can imagine during the process of development. There's usually some sort of record of in under the hood. And so data mining is really unraveling that, is taking a look at it and seeing what's there. In the context of a live service game, oftentimes that reveals future content that is in the process of being developed, which is where usually I think people start to question the morality of it as it pertains to, spoiling commercials and what, I don't know. It's a whole thing. It means different things for different people because people do it differently. Yeah, my dog apparently is just going to keep barking. So
that's cool. We're down. We're down. But man, thank you for coming. Anytime you want to come on the show, you can. Okay.
Anytime. Oh, are we wrapping? Oh my gosh.
Well, not yet. Okay. Not yet. Okay. I still told you. Just let you know. Yeah. If you have.
Oh yeah. No, I'm.
Yeah.
See, here's the thing. Like when the Avengers community started, the first time that I ever did anything outside of my Twitter, like I hadn't streamed, I hadn't done any, I was just a Twitter account. And the first thing that I did was High Rollers podcast, the Assemble podcast. And it was such a great experience, and it built great relationships. And I think that's how you build a community, you know?
Yeah.
I want to, the game succeeding isn't just my success in the sense of, it more eyes on it, and that allows me to have a bigger platform or whatever. It's also my, this isn't my job, it's my hobby. So it's my passion. The success of the game means more game for me in many cases, or at the very least, more people to play with. I'm very tied to the success of this game for 100 reasons. And so to be able to build this community around it, especially so early, means the world to me. And thanks for the invite. And yeah, I can't wait to play.
Question. All right. Hyrule Pocket. So you like Zelda? Everybody on the podcast.
Well, that's his nickname, but I like Zelda. I mean, here's the thing. My favorite Zelda game is like the old Famicom Zelda, like #1. Like, I love that game. I'm not even like that game was out before I was born, but I love that game. Like, there's something about it that's very, like, I grew up really poor. And so, like, a lot of my games that, like, were in the house when I was young were, like, old, like, hand-me-downs, you know what I mean? So I had, like, an NES, and I played a lot of Zelda 1 growing up, so it's super nostalgic for me. But like, when I was growing up, like, I missed Ocarina of Time. I, like, the real, like, Zelda has, like, become a big cultural player in this space, moments were kind of lost on me. Like Twilight Princess was really the first one that I like got to see, you know, like as like a teenager, I think. And so Zelda had never really been like my franchise, but when Breath of the Wild came out, I was definitely swiped away in the hype, and I loved it. Brilliant game. But that's mostly because I love Monolith Soft, who are like my favorite developers of all time, who did a lot of support work on Breath of the Wild, and God does it show. They're geniuses. I love Monolith Soft. I would give anything to tell them just how much I adore them. Like I love that studio so much, and they really do. Like, you know, I love Marvel's Avengers and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and they're very, very important to me as art even. But God, like Monolith Soft, like, man, those are my guys. Like Tetsuya Takahashi, like, is like a hero for me in this space for sure.
Is that Xenoblade?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my god, bro. Okay. All right, so I'm a big Switch guy. I mean, I play because like in the vein of you saying like how much that studio in that game is very important. I know it's a very controversial like game and studio, but like Pokemon's always been my shit, and I will defend it to the day I die.
Monolith worked on Legends Arceus.
Yeah, and I fucking absolutely love Legends Arceus.
Right? It's so good.
And I really hope that they do like work on Legends S games like every so often. But they did say, and I'm really hopeful. They knew about all the complaints about Scarlet and Violet, and they said we're going to take our time with the next project. So I really hope that they could do that. I mean, because Legends Arceus is probably one of the most beloved games ever, and it has no cooperative elements into it. It's a strictly single player game, and it was so fun. It's like Monster Hunter with Pokemon. That's literally all I can say. It was so fun, man, and Pokemon's so important to me and shit like that, and that's really cool for you to say that. But like, how would you recommend like Xenoblade? How would you for like the type of gamer that it's for?
I think there are elements of it that are a turnoff to some people inherently. Like I think, especially Xenoblade 2 got a lot of flack for being rather weebish. You know, I think anyone who has like an aversion to anime would probably take umbrage with the Xenoblades that are not 1. I think 1 gets a pass for a lot of reasons, and I think it's a masterpiece. But I think the things that it does strongest are depending on the time. I mean, that's the thing. It's not so linear a path in terms of like it's for this person. I think one thing you notice about Xenoblade fans is like everyone has a different favorite, and a lot of people have one that they don't like. You know what I mean? Like it's even diehards of the series have usually one that they're like, I don't fuck with it. Like it wasn't for me, because they shoot for the stars. Like they really try to do, even though there's like a framework there to some extent, usually around like the core of the combat. Everything beyond that is however they feel. You know what I mean? Like there's they did like a spin-off that was open world and is really I think it was groundbreaking in a lot of ways, its open world design. And I think a lot of people took cues from it, really. I think it was very influential. And then this third entry is, I think, what a lot of people consider like their sort of, dare I say, like Western RPG approach. You know what I mean? Like they've tried different things. The series was very heavily inspired by Skyrim, funny enough.
Really? Xenoblade?
Yeah, 100%. It's cited as a big influence.
Damn, that makes Skyrim sound so old.
Yeah. It's honestly, I love it. It's series. It's one of a kind. I think the thing it does strongest to me is the writing.
Really?
It Soraya Saga did work on Xenoblade 1. It's collaborative with a lot of writers, and they hire specifically from the anime industry, which is a really interesting approach. That's not a thing. Like, people don't do that. It's very weird that they do that, but the results speak for themselves. But Soraya Saga did work on the first Xenoblade game, and she was one of the big forces behind Chrono Trigger. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's the pedigree is huge. And the soundtrack. Okay, maybe the soundtrack is what they do best. The soundtracks are renowned. Yeah, and then the spin-off that they did, they got Hiroyuki Sawano to do the score, and he did Attack on Titan. Like, he's a big anime composer, and so I just love that they always try something different. They always surprise you. I love Monolith Soft. God, I love it. I could go on all day, honestly.
Didn't they also like had like a little crossover in Breath of the Wild?
They did. I mean, yeah, they did. They did support work on Breath of the Wild. Their pedigree, like their signature is all over Breath of the Wild.
That's so
yeah.
wild.
They worked on the last Animal Crossing.
Wait, what?
Yep. They aren't the primary studio there, but they're doing a lot of legwork on these games. They are Nintendo's secret weapon.
Like clean them up crew, almost to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, it says a lot that their influence really gave us Pokemon Legends Arceus. You know,
dude, like it's so wild. Like it's so crazy that we don't like as a community, like it's never really talked a lot about like these Eastern Japanese games and studios and how much work that they put upon, and it's like it's so crazy.
Yeah, I think there's an impression, and there has been for a long time, that Japanese games are sort of reserved for the AA space, and it's true to an extent. Like, I think Japanese media overall is very insular. Like, it's not the 90s anymore. Like, Japanese music, film, and television, and I mean, this is changing right now as we speak, thank God, but for decades has been for precisely one market and one market only, and that's Japan. I think you look at like Hallyu, and like the K-pop wave dominates the world, and it's made for the world, and Japanese media had really never been that way. And so it just doesn't make sense to pour in the kind of money that you do for a global product, because they're not global products. I think this new era of Sega and Capcom, they're really scratching the door of like AAA, and they're really trying to blaze new ground there, and I hope it works out for them. I think a failure would be disastrous, like a Shenmue style failure, I think could be really disastrous for that industry. But
I absolutely love the fucking Persona. Like Persona 4 Golden has my favorite anime like team, or like favorite cast. But Persona 5 like Royal is probably like my personal favorite JRPG like storyline game of all time. And when it literally says it takes 100 hours to beat, it takes 100 hours, but it doesn't feel 100 hours. It is so fucking great.
Honestly, JRPGs were in a low spot for a long time. And one of the things that I respect the most about Monolith Soft was that this was a concept to work, when Tetsuya Takahashi was still at Squaresoft, even before the Enix merger, for this grand Star Wars style saga, space opera, and what ended up being oh my god, the first chapter in what ended up being a Xeno was it was a completely different industry at the time. JRPGs were the driving force of the industry. Final Fantasy VII was the biggest game ever at that moment. You know, that was what gaming looked like, was a JRPG. And so suddenly they were sort of in the driver's seat of that. And so when Squaresoft sort of wanted to focus on dumping money into the Final Fantasies, which already with the Spirits Within was kind of a doomed venture for a while, although I guess now that's happening again, funny enough, but sorry, I'm losing track. Namco ended up acquiring them and making Monolith Soft as sort of like a Namco subsidiary and reviving that Xeno concept, and that ended up being Xenosaga. And it was like, okay, here we go again, let's do this. Now we're actually going to do it. Like this grand strategy that it's actually going to happen. And it flopped, and they couldn't do it again. And Namco wanted nothing to do with them. Namco was pretty much done with the business of Monolith Soft. And Nintendo saw that potential and acquired them, which they almost never do. Like, that's not something that Nintendo does. Like, there have been a lot of, I think in the last 10 years, a lot of Japanese studios that have died. Like historic Japanese studios that have died or been on the brink of death. Like Treasure died. Treasure, who made like Gunstar Heroes. Like those are like the Japanese action developers. Treasure died. Like Hudson Soft basically died. The really good Natsume team, they're like a shadow of what they used to be, which is crazy because these are like some of the best minds out of that industry. But Nintendo saw that and was like, let's do something here. Let's try again, a third time. And so then that ended up being Xenoblade. And I don't think it was really intended to revive that concept in the beginning, but it ended up doing it. It's like the series that could. Like, they just didn't take no for an answer. And you don't, just so often in this industry, it's like the stories of failure. For Christ's sake, we're talking about Avengers, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like it's a very cutthroat industry. It's a dog eat dog world. And people don't get chances like that to do their passion, you know what I mean? Like to do that thing that's in their heart that they really want to get out there. And the Xeno series is such a it's one of a kind for even just that reason alone. And I think it speaks to that tenacity that Monolith Soft is not only in the state they're in, but that they are sort of the Midas touch at Nintendo and in the industry, moreover, that they've worked on, you know, the biggest games of this generation, Animal Crossing, Zelda Breath of the Wild. Like, it was amazing to see them get a nod finally at the Game Awards last year, but to see them lose Best Soundtrack was a catastrophe. Like, it was a disgrace because they like developed tech for Xenoblade 3. They made an instrument for Xenoblade 3. Like the work that they did on the sound front in Xenoblade 3 and how they wove that into the narrative in the game moreover, like it was, I look at it really as like akin to what Last of Us 2 did with animations, where they like really revolutionized how you do it. And it was a shame to see that, you know, ignored. But I mean, at least they got the nod.
But
anyways,
you know,
as you could tell, I could literally somebody put a quarter in me because I'm just going off about this.
I was laughing. I was like, "What? They made an instrument?" I was like, "What?"
Yeah, they developed a flute that's like it exists in universe, but it's like a cultural instrument for this race of people that they've made. And it's like a real instrument that they made for like the specific sound that they had in mind. It's really cool what they did with sound in Xenoblade 3.
You said Last of Us that did with the graphics. What did they do?
Oh yeah, Last of Us 2. A lot of people don't know this, but like animations in video games. Don't worry, I'm not going to go on for 10 minutes. Animations in video games are usually very rigid. Like it's it doesn't really reflect human movement. Like, it's sort of like this joint goes here, and there's been a lot of work over the decades to evolve that, but it's still in sort of an archaic state where it's just like boop, boop, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really reflect how a human moves. It's not designed that way. And which is why I think in a lot of games, and the Arkham games are notorious for this, and it drives me crazy, that like a character will be in in an animation state, and then will be called to start another animation, and they just sort of skate to it, like to the first frame of the new one, and it doesn't look real. There's something very odd about it. And The Last of Us 2, they put a lot of money into their tech behind animations, and like the I don't know the jargon, but like the transitions between animations, like they innovated in that space, and that's why the movement in that game looks as real as it does, not just from the literal animations themselves and how they're motion captured, but how they transition from one to another. It looks like how a human moves more than any other game before it. And yeah, that's what I meant by The Last of Us 2's animation work. They did
cool.
really revolutionary, groundbreaking stuff there.
Well, my game of the year won best score for the Game Award.
This year?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
Final Fantasy 16. I love it, and it's funny. It was so funny because that game got so bashed by the community because of its combat approach was very DMC, because they got a lot of the Devil May Cry developers on the team. And I will always say this about Final Fantasy: every Final Fantasy game, numbered wise, combat is always different than the last. It's never the same, at least as of late. And I absolutely fucking love the game. The story is so fucking great. And I get it's so linear, but hey, you have a clear path to the end, and I went straight through, and the game is probably one of the best Final Fantasy games I've ever played, and it made me cry. And if a game makes me cry, then you're really good in my book. And the score was so fucking great.
Love it.
And it's like, it's not overtly complicated. It's an easy task, and like it's a lot of button mashing, but I mean, if you like Devil May Cry, it's definitely like that type of audience. Very combo heavy, but I love it. And there's gonna be DLC, so I'm happy.
Love that. Yeah, I had sort of fallen out of like the Final Fantasy series for a while. Like, I was one of those that was really sort of disenchanted with like the direction that they took in like the PS3 era, or even like in the late PS2 era. And I got really into like the Final Fantasy likes that emerged during that period.
Yeah.
Like, Lost Odyssey is brilliant, and The Last Story, I love that game. Really underrated. Mistwalker did it. They're like Hironobu Sakaguchi's studio, who was like the father of Final Fantasy. Really great stuff. I loved but I'll tell you, I did end up going back around and like rediscovering Final Fantasy 13, and I've grown a real affinity for it. I think it was misunderstood.
Final Fantasy 13, that was a wild release. I played that and literally got stuck and didn't finish.
Oh yeah.
It was so difficult for me. I think I was just younger and a little bit more naive than I am now. But like another JRPG I love is Tale of Arise. That was amazing. I don't know if you ever. It's
Like,
another Bandai Namco produced
yeah,
game.
I love, like, one of my favorite games of all time is Tales of Destiny.
Yeah.
Like, I love Tales of Destiny, and there's been like a very persistent rumor of a remake for the last couple years that like would destroy me. Like, I love that game. Like, Modern Tales has always been a hard sell for me, but I've always said, like, one day I'm gonna do it. One day I'm gonna get super back into Tales, and I'm gonna play them all.
Tales of Rise.
I own them all practically. Like, I've been buying them like to do this one day on Steam sales and stuff. Like, yeah, I just love Tales of Destiny so much. That would probably be a remake of Tales of Destiny, or at least like
Play
a
it,
port
just
or
play
something
it, play
would
it.
get me back in.
Just play it. It's so
I
good.
want to. There's just too many games. Like,
Yeah,
have you
No, man,
played?
I know.
Have you played the
uh,
Star Ocean 2 remake they just did?
No, but I heard it's really good.
Sensational, apparently. Like, I haven't had it any time. Like, there's just not enough time in the
yeah,
day.
I do want to play
feel
that.
you on that part.
I do want to play that.
Yeah.
All right, question: do you get requests to data mine games? Certain games, you have to, right? Like,
I get like, okay, it's kind of twofold. I get people that are like, "Hey, I'm really into this game. Like, I wish you were doing this there." Like, I get like from a fan perspective, but then I also do get some like indie developers sometimes. It's only happened a couple times, but that like sort of want like a Miller eye on their game, which is so flattering. In fact, thank you for bringing that up, because that reminds me I didn't email one back, and I have to, because it looked cool. But I mean, it's funny actually. I was during like the downtime between Avengers and Suicide Squad, to keep myself sort of going, I got super into this MOBA. It was out of the United Kingdom, Evercore Heroes, and it was one of like 10 MOBAs that have been sort of that have sprung up, helmed by former Riot Games developers. Like a lot, like so much of the core staff at Riot Games when League of Legends started, they now all run their own studios, and they're all like sort of getting venture capital money and using that clout to sort of start something new. And so often it's like, yes, it looks like a MOBA, but it's not. It's a MOBA with a twist. And so you get like Omega Strikers was one, you know what I mean? And anyways, I got super into Evercore Heroes, which is one of them, which is an Unreal Engine game, and sort of how I was like trying out like data mining Unreal Engine and like seeing what's out there. But yeah, I was like data mining the shit out of that game. This tiny little indie game, like it was but you know, it was like the idea was that it was a live service, so I knew like, you know, there was stuff coming. There was like this character that was like he was a tank, but he was like he had like a brewery, so he had like this giant keg, and like he had like a, you know, like a mixology sort of moveset, which is interesting, stuff like that. And I experimented with, because one of the things that I saw that I thought was really cool that I always wanted to do was like just anchor my data mines around Discord. Like there's this guy who data mines Marvel Strike Force who goes by the name Tana, and he does everything on Discord. So like he dumps all the text that he finds, images, all of it goes just on his Discord. And I was like, God, it's so organized and it's so accessible. I'm like, maybe I should try that. So I was doing that with my Evercore Hero stuff and sort of testing it out. But I think one of the things that's challenging about that is like, you know, Marvel Strike Force isn't really a game that's known for its narrative.
Yeah.
You know, so there's not much sense of like, oh, spoilers. And so I don't know if that'd be the best fit here, but it was an interesting idea. But unfortunately, Evercore Heroes, they ran out of money. So they they basically killed the game. They like went back to an ultra small team. They scaled down, and they're working on like basically Evercore Heroes 2, like just changing it up enough and then trying again and seeing if that does a thing. And if it doesn't, then they're probably gone forever. It's the industry out there right now is like, especially in like the indie space, is so what's the word I'm looking for? Well, okay, maybe I shouldn't frame it that way. The venture capital bubble, like from COVID, has burst. Like with COVID, there were so many big, like it was like, oh, we're all in our homes, we're all spending all this time playing video games. Like video game use skyrocketed, so naturally investments in video games skyrocketed. And like right now, you're seeing the fruits of all of that labor come out and die. And it's sad watching it happen. You know, there's some really cool games. There's just too friggin' many of them. You know, like
Yeah.
everything's a live service now. Everything
Yeah.
wants 100% of your time. You got to
Yeah.
grind every battle pass and blah blah. Blah. And it's like,
yeah.
no, like,
No, I don't want to do
Yeah.
this.
you know,
But
like there's just
it also sucked too for the Japanese developers that did a lot of those game developments in COVID because they weren't used to working at home. Because at home is home time. You go to work. Like bringing work to home was like such a weird counter, like a weird culture shock to them. So like that's why I assume a lot of those like Japanese games got heavily delayed.
yes, absolutely. Within like the studio space, yeah, totally. What was great about COVID for the Japanese industry though is that the Japanese indie scene was really sort of just getting its feet pre-COVID, but with COVID doing really driving VR specifically, the Japanese indie scene around VR exploded, and
Really?
now Japan like owns VR. Like with it, like outside of like the AAA space, although there really is no AAA space in VR because nobody wants to put that kind of money in. Like Japan owns VR right now. Like God bless, and there's so many like indie studios that have popped up, not even just for games, but for like middleware and tech stuff around VR and peripherals. It's such a healthy scene right now. God bless, like it's employed so many people over there. Love it. So happy for them.
That's really
And
good. That's actually
and
really good to know.
I think the Japanese market too is uniquely positioned to accept VR. You know what I mean? Like you have you know the Japanese consumer base, for example, has always been the furthest back in terms of like television size, like within G8 countries. You know what I mean? Like it's never really been, I think, a consumer market that sort of like accepts like a home theater setup, you know. And there are many factors behind that, but pop a headset on and there you go, you know what I mean? Like there's your home theater. And I think for that reason VR is doing like, it's really punching above its weight in Japan right now. Love it. And I'm a big VR head myself, so I'm like ultra happy about that.
Okay.
That's really cool.
Awesome. All right. We always ask our guests, do you have questions for us? Any questions for us?
Oh my gosh. I guess just comments, but maybe I'll lead into a question. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh man. Anytime.
Like
Anytime.
I always say like I'm, you know, when we were talking about like, oh, hire you or whatever, it's like I understand that what I do is inherently problematic in some circles. Puts me on an island, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I have to be like very loyal. And so if someone's Team Miller, I am Team them, you know, like for life. Like you got me. So it's just been so cool to be even just turned on to the podcast. And I can't wait to see what you guys do. Keep it up. Let's make this one a big one for us. You know what I mean? Like let's like Suicide Squad, like games like these, like live service games, they're kingmakers, you know? Like people every game you have these people emerge, content creators emerge and make a name for themselves within that space. Everyone is an opportunity, so let's not waste this opportunity. Let's crush Suicide Squad together, man. Let's do this.
Yeah, do it. Yes, we'll do it. Deal. With my Harley Quinn, we're gonna take down the world, or whatever that means.
By the way, I'm surprised we got through this whole podcast without even bringing up the fact that you have no idea how much of like a diehard Sailor Moon fan I am. Like, I've genuinely thought about doing like video essays about like the production and stuff, because I think there's so much that hasn't been said. Like, I think the English fandom around Sailor Moon is really ignorant to like production specifically and a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
We gotta talk. We gotta
do a Sailor Moon podcast. I have. Who's your favorite Sailor Shinji? Who's your favorite Scott Sailor Shinji? Who's your favorite?
Well, I'm a Capricorn, so I like Saturn for sure. Saturn's always stuck with me.
Saturn's action figure. I have her action
Yeah.
figure. I have her action figure arts. I say figure arts. I have her. Saturn
Oh
is
yeah.
it's Mars, Uranus, Saturn are my faves.
Love
But
it.
Mars is my baby. But I had the manga and I found out a lot of things. I found Jupiter,
See, that's my
Uranus,
point. Have you
and
even read the manga? Like
I've
the
read the
English
manga.
fandom for Sailor Moon is
See,
really sheltered.
yeah. I found out Uranus and Jupiter about that, the whole thing, and I said, oh, okay. I'm learning things now. So I read the manga. I said, forget the show. The show took too long. And then I read the manga. Then I watched the show. And I was like, okay, this is great. But I love it. I love Sailor Moon. That's awesome. We got to talk Sailor Moon things.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's such a unique production. Like we've talked so much about different, like Monolith Soft games and stuff that are like 1 in a million in the world. Sailor Moon is one of those. There's so much about it that like was such a time capsule. You know what I mean? Like it'll never be done again, and it had never been done before.
Nope.
You know?
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I love it. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I think this was meant to be. It was meant to be. That's what my
Yeah,
name
it's
is.
been great to meet you both, honestly.
Yeah, that's my
That
name.
was
is
a pleasure meeting you as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, all right. We always ask at the end of the show, what are you watching and what are you reading?
Oh, okay. Right now I'm watching Jujutsu Kaisen.
Okay.
I'm not like I'm sure the manga is amazing, but the anime industry right now is at a turning point. I think especially with like AI on the horizon, the relationship between producer and animator is strained now more than it has ever been. And we're also at a turning point culturally in the world regarding workers' rights. I think we're more aware now societally of what animators go through in Japan and how cutthroat and destructive that industry is for their health. And Jujutsu Kaisen is a lightning rod for all of that because it seems like really one of the worst productions ever in all of those regards. Like they're on the brink over there to the extent that it's like leaking out. Like people are talking about it openly at the studio about how bad it is. And I can't help but look like, oh my god. But on top of that, as a story, Jujutsu Kaisen is such a love letter to Evangelion. Like it's so cool to see in real, like I always sort of wondered growing up what it was like to consume media as like an older person, because you have all this historical context that younger people don't have, you know, like you're seeing things made by creatives that were inspired by things that you saw. You see those through lines because you lived them, you know what I mean? And Jujutsu Kaisen is the first time for me where I'm watching this and I'm like, oh, I see all the influences. Like this is blowing my mind. But Evangelion, it's such a love letter to Evangelion, especially Jujutsu Kaisen 0. Like to get Shinji's voice actress to play a character that is a proxy for Shinji. Like I love Jujutsu Kaisen. It's so I really think it's if Hunter x Hunter is gonna like pass the torch at all as like the gold standard of shonen, in my opinion, it's to Jujutsu Kaisen for sure. It's so good. Oh,
Okay.
just so cool.
Okay.
Oh, but what am I reading?
Yeah.
I haven't started yet, but I'm prepping for like a whole. I want to read every X-Men comic that's ever been published. Like,
oh my god.
I want to like speed run that. Like, I literally want to speed run it. Like, I want to time it. Like, you know, like there was a guy who speed ran on Twitch like 2 years ago or something, reading all of One Piece. And it like made headlines. Like it you know, it was a thing. I'm like, why not do that with a Western comic? Why not? And I love the X-Men and I'm chronically underread with comics. So it's like, yeah, let's do it. That'd be fun.
I am excited for you. That's gonna be a journey. Oh my god. Okay. Awesome. That's so cool. Okay. Awesome. All right. Let the people know where they can find you and what you got going on. If you want to share, out, put some news out there.
Great. You can find me like at Miller Ross or at Miller with 8 M's. So at mmmmmmiller. You can literally just Google Miller Ross and find me at this point, which
I
is
love
not a
it.
brag because I'm
Yeah.
not going to like what you find, but you will find me.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm working on a Marvel's Avengers postmortem right now for Xputer. I've been saying that all year, so I know it's way past due, but it's I think I've said recently Suicide Squad sort of um carrying on Marvel's Avengers legacy in a lot of ways was the final piece of the puzzle that I was missing for this postmortem. So I'm glad I waited. It's gonna have a lot of tea in it. I've got a visual on She-Hulk. I have the casting for Captain Marvel and Ultron that never got revealed. I've got a lot of
She-Hulk?
behind the scenes tea. I think it's gonna be
Yes. Okay.
it's gonna be a good read. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that. You can find that on my socials, hopefully before the end of the year. Other than that, I'm gonna probably pick up streaming again in January. I want to do a whole Arkham playthrough before Suicide Squad comes out. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see you guys there.
Hell yeah.
Can't wait to see you there too, bro.
Benny.
It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yes. Benny, where can they find you at?
They can find me on the Instagram at Benny J Blanco and on Twitter at the Benny J Blanco. What about you, Sailor Games?
And Benny wrote a book. Buy Benny's book. Benny
I
wrote,
wrote 2 books.
Wrote 2 books.
2 published books. Yes.
Oh no! Wow.
Yeah, he wrote 2 books.
Oh no! Wow.
2 books.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 2 books.
I stay busy sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Apparently.
You can find me, Sailor Games, everywhere. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you do. Find me. Just send me a message. We also have a podcast, Twitter, and an Instagram. Follow us on that, the POF Pod. Follow us. We love you. Do you have any word of wisdom today, Miller? Anything you'd like to say to the people? Anybody that owes you money or anything? Like, hey, you owe me money. Hey, shout out. You know what I mean? Anything, you know? You know how it goes. You never know how it goes.
Honestly, if I could give one piece of advice, that would end it on a weird. Oh, screw it.
Yeah.
Just keep going, man. Like,
okay.
We've been talking about like hardships across different industries and stuff. It's tough out there. Like, I had some of the worst years of my life, like within the last decade. Like, I've been through some shit. It's dipped so down that I never saw it coming back up. And let me tell you, like, it really has. Like, don't ever expect less from life. Like, there's so much to come. You have no idea. It'll always surprise you. And look at me gagging. Yeah. Like, I'm, you are them.
You're them. You're the best.
I wish I could have worded that better. I meant it to be poignant, but
it felt from the heart.
Truthfully, like, Avengers seemed like such a high point for me that it was like, oh, there's a good one too. Avengers was such a high point for me that I really genuinely thought, like, is this it? Like, back to Walmart, like, back to a life of obscurity, like back to not being able to do what I want to do. And so much of that was a self-fulfilling prophecy. But the truth is, like, even if things look bad, you have no idea how good things look in the future. You just can't see it yet. You can't. Like, you just got to trust it, man. You got to trust it.
I love it. You got to trust it. I tell myself every day, you got to trust it. Let's do this. Thank you for coming on the show. Hope we avoided we didn't get sued yet or anything like that. I wanted to talk about Suicide Squad so bad. I want to talk about
We'll talk after it comes out, I promise.
Yes, I will talk. You gotta come back after Suicide Squad. I'm gonna play it. I'm taking off that day, that weekend, to play the game. I love it. I'm pre-ordered it. I'm pre-ordering next Thursday. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get the early edition. I'm down. I'm in here. Let's get it. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Miller. Thank you, Benny. Drink your water. Tell your mom and dad we love you. Go outside. Touch some grass. All that good stuff. Go play video games. Play Avengers, whatever you do. But yeah, bye. Peace. I'm
Take it
pressing-
easy.
I'm pressing button.